truth. Not that we're preaching, but just throwing out enough that they and will ask questions. And if we don't learn from history, we will repeat. You've heard, I'm sure, well, I know many individuals. Mr. then addressed us, and he brought the subject of Black Lives Matter. And this, but I'll mention it here. Black in the world by storm. Other areas, and we see unifying, paying homage to the professional sport. Well, this is three women. Two of these women are Marxists. Now, what's a Marxist? Somebody who's following the doctrines of Karl Marx. That's the foundation of communism, socialism, and communism. Black Lives Matter. And they've come out and admitted, and that's the Marxist doctrine. They want to destroy Western civilization. They want to destroy it. And that's especially the United States. Black Lives Matter. What's this got to do with Black Lives? With and you mentioned this has nothing to do with lives. It's to tear down. And they're doing it through tearing down belief in God, belief in the Bible, family, in morality. They don't care about Black lives. You look at all the they get, all this good thing. It's based on this. Mr. Ames, then the Tomorrow's World program, we have now got into the fifth new program of the season. The War Against Normal. We saw that in Annapolis this last Sabbath. Wow, what a program. If you haven't seen it, you've got to see it. In fact, the War Against Normal. A real attack on human sanity. It's in fact, and Satan is trying. We're being hit by this craziness so much that it for us. We've got to be. We've got to have. We're But if we're trying to fight this on our own, with our intellect, with our intelligence, with our health, spirit, he doesn't get tired. He's got boundless energy. He's spirit. And he's attacking us. And he knows he has but a short time. We're trying to fight this on our own, with our intellect, with our intelligence, with our health, spirit. He doesn't get tired. He's
got boundless energy. He's spirit. He's attacking us. And he knows he has my short time. We're trying to fight this on our own. Without healing. Without intelligence. With hell spirit. He doesn't get tired. He's got boundless energy. He's spirit. He's attacking us. And he knows he has my short time.
We listen every that almost 126 Bible study course lessons have been sent out, and that long. And first, you hear that we actually have just we're working with in the area as well as Kannapolis. And we are planning tomorrow's world presentations in March in both areas. So we're just getting that, just getting started working in March. So something to pray about, brethren, and we really want to do our part. And that we can be prepared that when we have these presentations, that we will be able to truly welcome the new people and do so in a godly manner, that they will see a difference, that they'll be moved by our examples and by our confidence in God, in our dedication and zeal. That more people will come, God will bring come, more will be responsive, wanting to follow through with it. If we're just ho-hum, why is anybody going to want to change their lives that much and to come and be with us? But they see that we're on fire, we have fire in our bellies, and we really have confidence. And we're God's mindset. We're radiating God's Spirit. That's going to be infectious. So let's be praying that we grow in that. And those of you in the Caribbean as well, I just got an email today from Mr. Trafford, and get the dates together. He is planning on coming to Trinidad and Georgetown in March as well. It just happens to be about the same time. Actually, I think it's the second and third weekends of March. And we'll let you know for sure. He wants to have presentations in Trinidad and also in Georgetown. So I'll get you those dates. Like I say, it just came today. And so we're looking forward to that, finding halls. I know in Barbados isn't affected directly this time, but here. So 126,000 almost the Bible study course. A new record this year. Over 3,400, 3,400 go-tos. Last year, we had just over 2,800. We're now over 3,400 with yet we still have a couple of weeks to go. It was for the history. The year and some are still worked out as far as self. Fervently for pray for labor, pray for more laborers. We know we're told the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers, just ministers, that certainly includes ministers, but also the church, it includes ministers, but also the church, it includes ministers, but also the church. The church. What is the direction? Where's he going? Because God is guiding him. And he's guiding the church. That's what is important. What he's pray that I won't be deceived. He said, pardon me, pray that or my all three are very including ourselves. That's how we look at it. Well, that'll get us in the big trouble. It really will. How does God look at it? How do we know how God looks at it? Let him pray for us. You see that? Can't cross a cross. Just today ties in when you just happen to have it right here. It is hard to hear God's voice
decided what you want him. Now think about that. Hard to hear God's voice when you've already decided what you want him to say. Have you ever done that? Come on now, be honest. Be honest. I hate to admit it, but I have. I mean, we do it far more than we think, brethren. It's an outcome. We're praying for it. And what happens is, it's so easy to get that. And when we do, guess what? Something happens. Maybe even say something about, well, he's answering my prayer. Now sometimes, I'm just saying, we must be careful. Careful as Mr. Haynes brought out. That we're not deceived. Or the world. Or Satan. They brought out the greatest key to deep conversion. This is what we all need. Deep conversion. If you go way back, even to Mr. Armstrong's time, the greatest key of deep conversion is being able to take direction. Being able to take direction. And we've had a sermon on that in the last year or, I'll say year or so. Being able to take correction. And he gave a second, greatest key, number 2 would be having the fear of God. Having the fear of God. Why do we go to the Feast of Tabernacles? Why do we keep the feast? We save 1/10 of our income to go to the feast, to learn to fear God. And one of our meditation scriptures, I think we've done, 38 so far? Week number 35 was Proverbs 3, 5, 6, and 7. Proverbs 3, 5 through 7. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. All your heart. Oh, then he goes on, music. No, if we're not calling, directing our path, we're getting him, and then he will direct your path. Then verse 7, do not be wise in your own eyes. Oh, I prayed about this and I fasted, so this has got to be right, even when it's, or maybe counsel that you have received from don't be the eternal and depart from evil. From evil. Don't allow your own nature, yourself, or the world, or Satan to deceive you. This is a battle we all have. We all have. Let's see. And then Mr. Weston mentioned he's going to be traveling this Friday. He'll be going to Guatemala and then South America. He'll be gone for about 10 days or so, along with the leaders of the work in Spanish. Mr. Hernandez, let's see, listen,
And they're not, it's Armando and Christian Barrego. Okay, let's see. They thank the ministry. The ministry was on board, all the pastors and the evangelists and all the ministers, local elders. He said the ministry is very important. It's a very important part, keeping the congregations stable. And that's our responsibility, among others, in the ministry, brethren, is to help keep the congregations stable. We appreciate your love and your dedication, your cooperation, your prayers, all these things that help us remain stable. Mr. Rod McNair then mentioned he's covering some, he called them housekeeping issues, clarifying the ranks and roles of ministry. I just mentioned a little bit here, and this was brought out at the talked about it. I'll just share a couple of major points here. Okay, the following is an effort to simplify and streamline the ministerial designations. So there needs to be a distinction between ordained ranks, elder, pastor, evangelist. Those are ranks. We read about those in the Bible. Also, there are prophets, which we don't have, and apostles, which right now we don't have any today. Okay, so those are ranked. Some of the groups don't like the word rank. Oh, they want to get away from it. We're all the same. Well, that's not what the Bible teaches, brethren. This is one big difference, frankly. In the living Church of God and most of the Church of God groups. It's not just what is preached, but it's also what is left out, what's not preached. Dr. Mayer talked about proclaiming the whole counsel of God. He didn't hold back at all in these areas. Most of the groups have. They've not stepped out because they know it's offensive to some. So, let's see. And then there's the functional roles, and the functional roles would be such as ministerial trainee, assistant pastor, regional pastor, regional director. And it's important to realize that functional roles can change based on circumstances and current needs in the work. The rank does not, but the role sometimes does. And I'll explain that a little bit here. Okay, what is an elder? And I'll just mention here, we have elders. We have an elder in Faisal. We have an elder in Kannapolis. Dr. Germano, right now he's unable to come. He's home taking care of his wife, and they're both failing in health. They're getting older and older. And they appreciate our prayers very much. So then we have an elder in Barbados, who's also an assistant pastor, Mr. Cumberbatch. So the rank is elder, the function is assistant pastor. I'll come back here. Okay, so let's see, an elder is appointed to serve in a specific city or congregation. We have Mr. Reagan here serving in Statesville. We have Dr. Germano serving in Kannapolis as he's able, and he has faithfully for a number of years, and we really appreciate both of them as well as the others in the Caribbean and around the world. So elders serve in specific congregations, generally while maintaining their own outside employment. It's an ordained rank. He's a leader in a local congregation and serves under the direction of the pastor, and is given responsibility to anoint the sick with the discretion of the pastor and based on his own personal aptitudes. May be called upon to give spiritual counseling. Could he be involved with baptisms, giving sermonettes, sermons, and other responsibilities designated by the church pastor. He serves under the pastor. He's considered a teacher in Ephesians 4:11. Talks about apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers in order. And so teachers would include that rank of elders. So all ministers are considered, in the broader sense, to be fellow elders, as we're told in 1 Peter 5, verse 1. And then we have, I'll skip over trainee, an assistant pastor, and the rank of associate pastor, to clarify things, has been eliminated. We don't have associate pastors anymore. That affects us in Trinidad. It's assistant pastors. And I'll just say also, unaffected, there's no longer area pastor. That's done away. I'm no longer an area pastor. I am a pastor. And so that has been changed. Two of them, Barbados, badge, and assistant pastor is a designated the spiritual needs of the congregation or congregations in lieu of and as an extension of the full pastor, who happens to be me at this time, who may live in a different city or even a different country. And oh, how much I appreciate our assistant pastors. It helps to keep the stability, as we talked about earlier. Eventually, in this role, I know Mr. Cumberbatch was a trainee for a period of time, worked under my direction, and then he's now an assistant pastor. As assistant pastor, he stays in constant communication with his training pastor, while he takes care of the day-to-day pastoral duties in the congregation or congregations he serves. So, it stays in constant communication. And then a pastor, what's a pastor? No longer area pastors, we're pastors. I always thought area pastor was a little awkward, so just a pastor, which I think it's good. A pastor is an elder who has been given the additional responsibility of being the full pastor of a congregation or congregations. This is an employed by the church position. It's an ordained rank, as we see in Ephesians 4, pastor.
has spiritual oversight of and functions as the overseer of a congregation or a group of congregations. He brings out in 1 Timothy 3, talks about bishop, that's bishop, pastor, overseer. As pastoring is his full-time occupation, a pastor's occupational energies are directed toward taking care of the flock under his hand. His responsibilities fall within three main categories. Number one, to teach. Number one. Number two, to counsel. And number three, to be the administrator of the congregations. And he oversees, to be the administrator. He answers to his regional pastor. And we have a regional pastor and a regional director. Now, I mentioned Mr. Rod McNair, who's the Assistant Director of Church Administration, mentioned that there are ordained ranks and also functional roles. Functional roles can change based on circumstances, okay? In this case, there's been a change of names. We no longer have associate pastor. Mr. Weeks, for example, is assistant pastor. We're just having that one term. I was mentioned here that it came up in the council that for example, in a lot of stores, I know here we call them grocery stores, supermarkets, your manager, your general manager. And then you have an assistant. And then under the assistant manager, you'll see, you look at the name tags, you got the manager of the departments, assistant manager, you have associates and manager. So associate can also mean on a level just below the I'm no longer I was the regional that changed. And we came into another area where it was more difficult, and so that changed. So now we have a staffer. And I'm very happy. That I wanted to take a look and see how this works out. And together as a team. Mr. McNair was we just do that we've had before, and that's one of the things to see in the Living Church of Christ's direction is that it's really exciting. Bring everything together. Some of these policies have not gotten translated in national areas as much, but let's see. Yeah, I'll mention here. Festival assistance. Actually, it's, especially in the Caribbean, we've done it. PMs, the is for members. The first year we've been saved for the first year. So anyway, this is something that changed us in the Caribbean from this one that came out today. So all of us, we just individuals, which you've got a year now to prepare for that. Recently, I completed 25 years in the ministry, and we're recognized, and we get a nice plaque. Daryl Lovelady, he's in, and Mr. Neil Penman in Australia area, New Zealand, Australia. Mr. Aitchison, who's in British Columbia, Canada. So one in Canada, one in the area of Australia, and then in the U.S. Then Mr. Weston dealt with servant leadership, and he stressed the importance of the opportunity to, whether it be just, well, I shouldn't say just, whether it be position of any position, or deacon, deaconess, elder, whatever it is, this is a privilege. It's a privilege. It is not a right. And that changes sometime. Well, it changes with time. It's not a right. And I've heard it, and I think any of us who've been around for any length of time, I know in the ministry, heard this. Well, I have a special talent, and I need to use it. Maybe I've got a gift of speaking, and I should be speaking. So, no, you're put there by the pastor. I'm a great song leader. I'm good at writing or whatever. Well, to serve. It's not a right. So the opportunity in the congregation is a privilege. It's a privilege. And I am just deeply thankful for the privilege that God's given to me. Years. Him. One time, Minister Armstrong made a decree, and I went on career because of certain circumstances, and I guess something came up, and somebody, he got angry with somebody, and so he made a decree that all those elders who were once full-time, who then are now non-career, affected me, that affected Mr. Strong. I went to the pastor, you're doing a great job, and you were, and you still give sermon ads. Well, I mean, I was. I can see what. So anyway, at the time was worth a lot of money, and the big expensive magazine. Anyway, so about what non-career, more about 6 months. Paul, this doesn't apply to you. Sorry about that. You're an elder. So, that was exciting. But these things change. These things can change. And anyway, serving is an opportunity, and we do it the best that we can, regardless of rank or role. Kindling a fire. Fire, was it more or was it ever? And you run out. We are in the law, the letter Greek, but we want to focus here. Not. The principle is, in those days, back in the Old Covenant, it took a lot of time to prepare virtually anything. But if you're going to prepare meat, you kill an animal, you slaughter, skin it, all things, and then it just takes a lot of energy. To bake bread, you had to grind the flour in this. It just took. And so that, as far as we're turning on a, it's different. Now, we don't do if we can do something on the preparation day or beforehand, we should try to do that. Yes. But we don't want to get all buggy about some of these things where we're focusing on the physical things so much. It might only take a few minutes to do something. Well, this is working on the Sabbath. And like the Jews, they're so caught up in it that when you go to Israel, some of their high got them. They don't want to have any on the elevator, so they have it set every way down. It takes for a drain. This keeps you from having because that's work. Silly too. So he brought out the principles here that we should not be caught up physical things, but the balance. We don't want to just overdo the extra work, but the spiritual is the spirit of the law is the intent. And the question came up about what about warning Israel, the nation of Israel, the Jews, the house of Israel. And Mr. Weston brought out this next tomorrow's world. February, tomorrow's will be referred to it. Addressing the nation of and Israel. See, I think it's Jerusalem and prophecy. I'm not sure. He may have read prophecy. And then the question came up, how do we address the ministry? First name, whatever. Our country, the world is getting away from respect. It's getting away from what has been taught for years. And let's see, this was. It's still a tradition of the church to address the ministers by their last name. Now, the third generation this. So that is we still hold to it. Things in we don't where somebody in the church or in the world will like Reverend, Mr. It's a title of respect, and then how we treat its genders. God says or pretend